It is Wednesday, I think, the 27th day of July. Hold on. Oh boy, this is a mess. 2022. I apologize for neglecting to record last week, and I'm sure all two or three of my listeners are terribly upset by that. Or, as is far more likely, they simply moved on to something more productive with time. We've come to a bit of a crossroads here at the Broadcast Palace, in that I'm not entirely sure that I want to continue with this format of a podcast. I still love the idea, mainly in that I think it can be used as a sounding board for listeners to get things off their chest, so to speak, and to whine and complain and kvetch. But it hasn't turned out that way, which is fine. It is what it is. Having said that, I do think I'll continue it in some form, just because, again, I like doing it. But shorter episodes, listener voicemail should they come in, and three gripes. It'd be an outlet for me, but also not the same kind of format that I've been running here for the last couple of years now. And part of it is I don't think the constant whining about things entirely out of my control for over an hour every week has really been good for my mental health. In the beginning, it was an outlet. It was because everybody was locked inside, and I was unemployed, and needed something to do. Now I'm just unemployed, and I'm not locked inside, and I don't really think that it's doing myself a service anymore. I mean, look, complaining is a completely natural and common thing, but to have more or less, I don't want to say my life revolves around the podcast, because it really doesn't. It's a very minor part, but it's a part, and I think that's something that I'm struggling to deal with. I don't know. I was handed a great idea for a different pod by Twitter follower, acquaintance, pal, chum, whatever you want to call him, Drew. I asked for ideas with what to do with my footballandporn.com domain. I had talked about football and porn previously, which is how I even came up with the idea to snag the domain name. And his reply was outstanding, so much so that I'm contemplating it, but it won't involve actual pornography every week. So please, whatever, just a spin on the word porn. But there's work involved with that format, and I'm not sure if I want to make that kind of commitment, because really, with this particular podcast, there is very little work to do. It's, hey, you come up with an idea, or you think of something, you write it down, and you format it into your script every week, and there you go. And sure, I've got fuck all to do at the moment, but the plan is for that to end at some point soon, hopefully. So that's where things stand at Complaints HQ. Not really sure how this is going to progress, but in the meantime, I'll probably continue doing it this way for a little bit until I decide to change things, in which case I'll share it with my 2 or 3 listeners, and kind of go from there. So there you go. This week, though, I'm talking about political swag, strip clubs, voicemails, and the top 10 humans list. I have taken suggestions, I've taken thoughts, no prayers, and compiled a list of top 10 people. It's not the list, of course, but it's a list. Constantly fluid. That's all right here, right now, on episode 126 of Complaints and Observations.
Still, the most less than average podcast on the internet, with a host who's the smartest person in the room when he's the only one there. A continuing odyssey into mediocrity, guaranteed to make you question your life choices and your own sanity. This is Complaints and Observations with Dave LaPointe.
Who the hell is Dave LaPointe?
I think he's a bum. I think he's an absolute bum.
What's going on? How you doing? Good? Good. I asked that sort of in jest. Not really. I should say that. That's kind of rude, right? It is kind of rude. I do care. Trust me, I care. I apologize for the intro. It's just kind of a, how I'm feeling sort of a thing. Again, when you get anywhere between 20 and 50 listens a week, it doesn't really matter per se. So, yeah. I had a script here, and boy, this is off to a fucking rousing start, eh? Eh? Oh man, hey, one thing I did want to mention, I wrote this down. The term "get fucked," like if you're yelling at somebody, be like, "Hey, get fucked," underused. So if you're pissed at somebody, the next time you're in the middle of a, bit of a tiff, if you will, say, "Hey, get fucked," and then walk away, and you've won the argument. Get fucked. That's pretty good. Boy, I'm a little lost today. I'm terribly sorry. What did I want to talk about? I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'm a little fuzzy brained at the moment. Fuzzy brained? Jesus Christ, David. You've made a shitty podcast even shittier. Wow. Like I have something here, and it's something I wanted to talk about, but I don't know if I really want to talk about it now. I don't know. It's fucking, I don't know. So there's somebody down the street, two people down the street from my house here, that they have flags in front of their house. One of the flags says FJB, like EFFJAYBEE, FJB. And if you're not familiar, that's supposed to mean fuck Joe Biden. And then across the street, there's somebody with a flag. It just says fuck Biden, as if it's a directive of some kind. Like, hey, go fuck Biden. If you see him, fuck him. See what happens. The way the Secret Service is, they'll probably let you. But it just made me think, like, what has to be going through your brain when you're buying something like that, right? Like, again, and I've said this time and time again, like, Joe Biden is far, far, far from perfect. He's better than the last guy, but the bar is so low, it doesn't really matter. It's just, that's like, let's say $25 a whack, right? For those flags. And when you put that in front of your house, you're basically telling people who are on the other side of you politically that you're a crazy person. Or people that are on your side of the fence politically are going to, drive by and beep and be very excited that you've put up that directive to say fuck Biden. Maybe they mean Jill. I don't know. Or maybe they mean Hunter. Maybe they play on that side of the street. I don't know. I just find it so amusing that for whatever reason, that particular side of the aisle loves buying shit to declare their love for their particular candidate. And it's not just the fuck JB, and it's the fuck Trump people too, but at the same time, it really wasn't as prevalent. It was around, don't get me wrong. But I mean, it's just, you can, it's fine to like disagree with the president. That's part of the way that this country is built and put together, is that you're supposed to, and it's fine if you do. That's the whole idea. But the spending money on all the fucking dumb shit, like you've been conned into buying that crap. It's like, oh, you don't feel the way that you do if you don't buy this fuck JB sign and put it out in front of your yard. Like, what? I've just added a shirt to the merch store. You should check it out. And it falls in line. It's the kind of thing that, hopefully will be worn with pride by rationally thinking adults. I doubt it, but still. I just find it so hilarious how absurdly divided politics has made the general population of this country over the course of the last, I don't know. I'll say 8 years. I don't really think it's that long, to be honest, but I'll say 8 years because that's probably when it started. Maybe even more than that. But the way that some people on the right react to Donald Trump, it still fascinates me. And it's not just him; it's all of them. Like none of them care about you personally. None of them. You're nothing more than a faceless number to them. And that number is one. It's one vote. That's it. And sure, there's going to be some cash behind it because they're all going to come begging for money. All of them. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter what their stance is. All of them. They're all begging you for money. But plastering your yard or your car or your body with this garbage is just a dead giveaway that you're a fucking idiot. And I'm sorry to say that. I really am. I don't really think it's intentional. I just think that you've been brainwashed into believing something. It's akin to religion, and you know how much I fucking don't like religion. But the people that are so like upfront about their religion, it's the same fucking thing. You're equally as obsessed. What's the difference? It's both. Both of them are a cult. And then when someone tries to present, you know, facts, you scoff and laugh at them. I heard a great interview with Rob Delaney, the comedian Rob Delaney, comedian, actor, whatever. He lives in England. He's a card carrying socialist. And he made a good point. He's like, look, I don't care who you vote for. I just want you to be healthy. I want you to have a job. I want you to have a home. Like, it was the most simple and easy way to sort of describe your feelings or what your feelings really should be. Now, do you have to be a card carrying socialist? No, I don't think so. It's just in this particular instance, he happens to subscribe to their particular list of beliefs, which again, bit cultish, if you ask me. But I think his basic sort of line of thinking there, like you don't hate America, you don't hate Americans, you just sort of hate where things have gone, right? At least that's what I think. And I don't know why I got into this. This is not what was in the script. I don't know. I guess I'm feeling a little off today. It's not doesn't make for a good program, does it? And again, nothing really makes for a good program, but here we are. Um, so go to the merch store, bonfire.com. You can search for complaints and observations. You'll find it top of the store page. I think it's pretty good. Others might not, but that's sort of how things go, right? And it just kind of it caught me. It was one of these things where I saw that I'm like, oh, this is just fucking stupid. And I've driven by them 80,000 fucking times. But it's just it looks like a yard sign. It just says obsessed with a politician 2022. It comes in gray or red. and I think it's a good shirt. $22.99. You know how much I'm making on this? 60 cents. 60 cents. It's because you don't sell any, Dave, but whatever. It is what it is. On the back, there's the show logo. There's the hashtag. Tell your friends. Bonfire.com. And you can search complaints and observations, and then there you go. Check it out. Yeah. Last weekend, another visit to the another visit to the strip club. There was another birthday in the group. This time, my wife, and so we went to Hibachi, and then we went to the strip club, as we are now wont to do. Apparently, this is a thing. It will probably continue. It's usually fun. Not gonna complain. The quality of the talent has gone down quite a bit over the course of since we started this thing, which is only a couple of years now, which I find amusing. So it makes me wonder if what's going on at the Boardroom Cabaret, FKA, the Foxy Lady Brockton. A handful of observances. It was a slow night. So, like, what is a slow night at a strip club? Egads. Egads is the right word for it. Just not. You just feel bad because obviously, they rely on a large audience to tip them and to tip them well. And so, if they don't have a large audience, well, then theoretically, they're not going to be tipped well. But I think part of that is that and I say you in a sense that the stripper you or the dancer you. Do you even call them strippers anymore, or is it just exotic dance? I got a feeling that stripper is not the proper nomenclature. I don't know. I have to look into that. But I would imagine that the stripper will then use her feminine charm to secure like one admirer for the evening. If you've ever been to a strip club, then my guess is that you've seen that. But I would imagine that when it's slow, that you have to work a little bit harder to do that. But yeah, it was funny. One of the things that I noticed is that like, somebody crumpled up a dollar bill into a ball and threw it not at the dancer, but onto the stage. And the stripper then complained to security about this guy who threw the ball. And I'm thinking to myself, what the? I mean, I guess maybe that's like a sign. Maybe that's a sign. Like in the long list of, shit that dudes will do at a strip club that can eventually turn into something a bit more. Like that might be on the list. Like they start throwing things at the dancers. So you try to nip that in the bud. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that, yeah. I think that could make sense. Yeah, that's what I think. But it's like, okay, one of the things that she said, was like the quality of the bill. Like, how am I supposed to use? It's like, okay, well, you just unwrap it, fold it up. It's not the end of the world. And it just got me thinking, like, do they, when they get dollar bills that aren't of the quality that are handed out at the strip club, do they complain? Balled up, old, torn, wet, whatever. Because every time you get ones at the strip club, they're quality ones. They're not brand new because those are a pain in the ass. But they're not like torn or bald or they're in good shape. They're good shape ones. So it just I would assume that they have a relationship with a particular bank who manages to secure old ones for them. It's like a it's like a not quite a money laundering scheme, but you know, they physically launder the new ones so that they're old. No, this is actual money laundering, sir. We are physically and literally laundering your ones. That's funny only to me. Um, but one of the things that we learned is that Motley Crue is on the outs at the strip club. It doesn't hold the same cachet that it once did. Girls, girls, girls. Um, used to be the strip club banger. I don't know if we even heard it. We might have, but we heard a lot of The Weekend, like 3 times. I don't even know if it was 3 different songs. Who the fuck knows? I don't know his catalog, so I couldn't even tell you. There were a bunch of voicemails left. My buddy Matt, I think my buddy Jeff, I don't know, and myself, unfortunately, couldn't understand any of them. The Google Translate machine was pretty funny. In that one, let me see if I can't pull it up. This was at 1:36 a.m. and Google thought that the message from my pal Matt said, quote, "What happened? This Chevy equipment, really? Crackers the butthole." That was it. Crackers the butthole. Awesome band name. There you go. If you're in a punk band, there's the next name of your band, Crackers the Butthole. Congratulations. Um, but so there was one girl who was dancing, and she was wearing like a neon green outfit. It looked like she was standing out half naked, directing traffic in Rhode Island at a construction zone. And so it's 2 for 1. The music plays. It's time for the 2 for 1. The girls get off the stage and they go around. They look for suckers to give a lap dance to. And this young lass comes right over to me. And because I'm a guy, I immediately stand up. But my good sense kicked in right away. I looked at my darling saintly wife and I asked, "Is you okay?" And she said, "Yep," and then handed me money. Okay. Off I went for what was, and look, this is not a cover, this is not a ploy. I am not a liar. So this is a completely honest statement. This girl was very attractive, but uh I had to pee the entire time. Now listen, if you have a penis, right, and you have to pee, makes it kind of difficult to get excited, right? Now look, that's not to say that I would generally get excited by these things, but the fact that I had to pee and she kept sitting on me, I was dangerously close to peeing myself. Not really, but still. Once this was over, I immediately went to the bathroom. That was my next move. Like, I had to pee. But this girl was very unkempt, and it was very off-putting. She smelled terrible, the poor thing. I felt bad, but she smelled awful. And look, it's probably because she's been dancing and she's working up a sweat. But my guess is, hey, backstage in your locker, there should be some deodorant. Put it on. At one point, she like had her arm not around me, but like her arm behind me, so that when I looked over to my left, there was her armpit right in my face, and I immediately had to turn away. It was not good. She spent the entire time talking about her day, which consisted of being on her friend's boat. I don't know how honest that was, but still, she smelled like she'd been on a boat all day. Um, I between that and what was she talking? Oh, her niece was asking her to take her to Elton John, which was taking place apparently that evening at Gillette Stadium. So this was not my typical. I don't know. My luck with lap dances has been horrible for a very long time. I don't know if I've ever talked about the lap dance that I got at my bachelor party down in South Carolina. It was not good. I was very drunk, very hungover, and the girl like bounced on my not on my lap, but essentially on my stomach, and I burped, and she's like, "Did you just burp?" I'm like, yeah, and that was pretty much the end of the lap dance. And thankfully, it was the end of the lap dance. It was not all that great, and as my friends will attest, the talent there was ghastly, to say the least. There were two strip clubs right across the street from one another, and I swear to God, it was just I don't know. We only went to one, and we spent most of the time watching the Red Sox game on a very large TV right behind the bar with relatively cheap beers. So it wasn't the worst visit, but the strippers were not good. Um, the last quality lap dance I ever had was my buddy Jeff's bachelor party. That was phenomenal. But I think that the stripper gods have smited me in some way because now everything after that has just been terrible. I used up all my all my good stripper luck at that one evening. It's funny. Again, only to me, but it's funny. Um, so of course, after all this, my wife then suddenly had a problem with it, even though I asked her, and she said yes, and then she handed me money. She had an issue with that. And look, fine, I get it. I apologized. I apologize again. I'm sorry. Won't do it again. But yeah, she felt the need. She needed to call in and share.
Hi, I'd like to leave an anonymous message. Um, I'm one of your listeners and curious to see what your other three listeners' opinions would be on husbands getting a lap dance from a stripper on their wife's birthday while their wife is present. Personally, for me, I find it disrespectful. I don't know how other people feel about it, but it is a complaint and an observation. And again, curious to see how your other three listeners would feel about it. Thanks, Dave.
I forgot that she said it was anonymous. It's my mistake. I apologize, dear. So there you have it. I'm curious, my other two or three listeners, as she was wanted to point out there, I'm very curious as to your reaction. Now, two of the things that she left out, one is that, I asked her, she said yes. And two, she then handed me money. And three should be that it wasn't that good. But, that's neither here nor there. That last part is not really the point. You know, if I was actively running around the place like securing lap dances, yes, that would be very disrespectful. And I would agree wholeheartedly. However, that did not happen. And we've been, Christ, how many times have we been to this fucking thing now? Like 3 or 4 times now? Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, everyone's getting massages. Guess who didn't get a massage? Me. Wanna know why? Because I'm a better person. All right, let's get off of strippers for a second and move on to something a tad more wholesome, I guess. Better. So I had asked for, of course, for a couple weeks for folks on the various social media channels to provide me with who they thought would be on their list of top 10 humans. Now, the idea was to get, consensus and suggestions and compile a list of people worthy of you know praise of some kind from a podcast that typically does the complete opposite. So, I got a list, all right, and then I sprinkled a couple of my own in here as well. But there were a handful of people that were nominated a couple times, and there were a handful of people that were nominated in jest. There were a handful of people that were nominated for reasons I can't figure. Um, but I think for the most part, I have what I consider to be a very decent and solid list of people. Now, the good thing about the top 10 humans list is that I think it is very fluid, as I mentioned earlier. It can change constantly. New humans can develop and enter the list. So, I mean, it could be the kind of thing that changes on a week to week, day to day, month to month, year to year basis, hour to hour, you know? But it's interesting. It's also interesting, like some of the people that are nominated or that are suggested. Like, for example, Tom Brady came up twice. I like Tom Brady, don't get me wrong. Love the Patriots. But I mean, what is it that Tom Brady has done other than play football that would make him a top 10 human? And maybe, and here's the thing about Tom, right? It wouldn't surprise me. I shouldn't even say that because it kind of goes into the, flies in the face of what I'm trying to say here. But you don't hear about charitable efforts, and I'm sure there is a charity that's involved because that's how rich people avoid paying taxes. I don't know, but I mean, just to say that he's a top 10 human because he's won 7 Super Bowls, I think that's kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of dumb if you ask me. Now, on the other side of the coin, one of the people that was nominated and who I agree with, John Cena, and I'll tell you why. John Cena, if you don't know, has granted more wishes through the Make a Wish Foundation than anyone else in the history of that particular program. And to me, it's those kind of things that make a human a top 10 human, right? So John Cena is on the list. Now, there is no particular order here. This is just 10 people, okay? Someone who was nominated 3 times, Dolly Parton. And if you're not familiar with Dolly Parton, the amount of work that she's done, honestly, it's fascinating and it's vast. That woman has been donating books to schools across, I think it's Kentucky or Tennessee, for decades, decades. And there's way more than that. And the downside to it is that I'm not going to be able to wax poetic on each and every one of these people. Mainly because I'm lazy. But there are some that I do know and that I'm familiar with, and I will talk about. Dolly Parton, I need to do far more digging and research into it, but the top layer is impressive. And the charitable work that she's done through, she's what? She's in her 80s, yeah? Late 70s, early 80s, something like that. How old is she? Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is 76. I'm terribly sorry, Miss Parton. I did not mean to say that you were in your 80s. But I mean, she's 76 years old. She's been in the public eye for, Christ, damn near 50 years. But I mean, like she donates money. Apparently, there was a fire in the uh, Great Smoky Mountains, and she donated $1,000 per month for 6 months to families who lost their home. I mean, that's got to be huge for these people. She donated a bunch of money to Vanderbilt to their medical center. She also donated. I wish I could remember the actual like where the money went. I don't know if it also went to Vanderbilt, but basically to do work on the COVID vaccine. It's amazing. She all of her profits from Dollywood go to all of her various charities. Donate, like I said, donated all kinds of money to AIDS and HIV foundations, animal rights, cancer treatments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's amazing. It really is amazing. So Dolly Parton, a top 10 human. John Cena, a top 10 human. John Cena, good for you. I got to figure out. This is what happens when you do these things late. John Cena, make a wish. Let's see, 650, and that was as of last month. So he's probably over that. 650. That's fucking unbelievable. That's crazy. 650. So that's 650 kids who he has personally touched their lives. And all because he's a fucking professional wrestler who was like a fake rapper when he first got there. Crazy. Nelson Mandela speaks for himself. Ended apartheid in South Africa. So good on you, Mr. Mandela. The kind of person that if you're not either a historian or South African, that you're not going to really know a ton about. But then once you read into it and see what he did for the common people of South Africa and then for the world, basically, Nelson Mandela. Bob Ross was nominated twice. And, I thought about, okay, what the fuck, Bob Ross? Well, then I was told that I have to watch the Bob Ross documentary. I haven't done it. I will do it. So I'm going to put a pin into Bob Ross. He's on there, but I'm putting a pin in it. I need to see what the deal is with Bob Ross, okay? Fred Rogers. Fred Rogers was the impetus of this entire list. When I said on Twitter that he is a top 10 human, I think I said one of the best humans, and then somebody commented, a dear friend, Mike from Woburn, commented that he's a top 10 human. It got me thinking, okay, well, top 10 human, Fred Rogers. Did more for children's education and children's learning in the 60s and 70s than any of us will probably ever know. Spearheaded the advancement of public television in this country. Saved public television in this country, because my guess is if some folks had their way, they would get rid of public television, even though it's mostly funded by donations these days. It's not really funded by there are a handful of grants and whatnot that are government funded, but it's very, very small in terms of percentage of their annual budget. Was one of the first people to put like gay people on television, black people on television, gay black people on television. Mr. Rogers. And he had the same style for about 30 years, which, it plays. Jose Andres, Chef Jose Andres. If you haven't watched the documentary that Ron Howard put out about Chef Jose, you're missing out. This dude, one, he fucking works his ass off. And he has basically served, I think, over 1 million meals now in Ukraine to people that are all these various border crossings, going into towns across the country, feeding people nonstop. And he started in Haiti and then went to Puerto Rico. And the amount of work that World Central Kitchen has done over the course of the last 8 to 9 years is astounding. It's absolutely astounding. It's mind-blowing. And he's done it at the sacrifice of his family. The guy runs a restaurant empire, yet on the side, he's running this unbelievably incredible and successful in terms of feeding folks. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy the amount of work that he's put into this thing, and the amount of time that has gone into it, and the amount of people that he's managed to touch over the course of however many years this has been going on. And in a sort of similar vein, somebody on Twitter said a name to me that I had never heard in my life. Norman Borlaug, Borlaug. Norman Borlaug. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I thought it was a gag. So I looked into it. It's not a gag. He was an agronomist, which is essentially, an agriculturist, someone in the professional realm of science and practice of agriculture and agribusiness. But he managed to invent various strains and yields of wheat that have essentially saved millions and millions and millions of people from hunger, going all the way back to the 1960s. And some of his strains are still used today. Uh, High yield, disease resistant wheat varieties, doubling crops in Mexico, Pakistan, India, and some of these countries that were basically going hungry eventually became exporters of wheat. Nobel Peace Prize winner in 1970. Man lived until he was 95, and he was basically still working up until almost until the day that he died. It is a very, very fascinating and interesting story. What he managed to do to advance and to essentially stave off hunger in a number of places throughout the planet. So look him up, Norman Borlaug, Borlaug. And in another sort of similar vein, in terms of people that have done something for the greater, betterment of society, my pal Matt suggested Henry Ford. Henry Ford changed the way that the world traveled. It makes perfect sense. From what I understand, though, Henry Ford was kind of a douche. But what he did to revolutionize, travel, automobiles, um, you know, just manufacturing and production it's unrivaled. There's really like who else contributed that much to how society moves and builds and makes things besides Henry Ford. There's an interesting story about what Henry Ford tried to do. I want it was either Brazil um, or Argentina. I think it was Brazil, in terms of a rubber factory in Brazil. That's the kind of shit that's like, okay, not really ideal, not really great, but not everyone's perfect. And in that vein, another person on the complaints and observations top 10 humans list, Winston Churchill. This also came from Mike and Woburn. Quote, a very flawed individual who single-handedly saved the world from fascist rule, end quote. 100% factual. And that doofus FDR kind of waddled his way backward into it and only really got into it, when the Japanese fucking bombed Pearl Harbor. Had the Japanese not made that move, right? And FDR decided to get in, or, Eleanor decided to get in, Churchill would have been fucking screwed. So the Japanese fucked themselves, fucked the Axis powers by by making a mistake and doing something that they didn't need to do. But Churchill, standing alone, essentially, trying to fight the Germans, the Italians, yeah, not good. But Churchill was a very shrewd man, and again, very flawed. But he had a singular focus, and it was to win this war, to make sure that we didn't fucking fall into a fascist rule, which, you know, the Russians didn't want it. And my guess is that Stalin probably would have gotten jealous, if Hitler happened to succeed in pushing all the way into England. He probably would have got jealous and said, okay, I need to do something else because I don't want this guy ruling the world. So it would have been interesting to see how that proceeded. But so that's that. Yeah. And last, Albert Einstein. I couldn't tell you the first fucking thing about anything he did in terms of like the details of it, but his scientific contributions are unparalleled. And a top 10 human. It's basically, theory of relativity and all that other garbage that I don't understand. I'm too stupid to actually understand. And then I started looking to see if how many of his ancestors are still alive. And there's actually one who is relatively active on Twitter, which I thought was kind of funny. Yeah. So there you go. 10 people, top 10 humans for today. Honorable mention. There's a kid out in Indiana. His name is Nick Bostic, 25 years old. Last week or the week prior, Nick Bostic was delivering pizza in Indiana and drove past a house that was on fire. This fucking kid making probably, $4 an hour plus tips delivering pizza. Maybe not 4, but whatever. Gets out of his car, runs into the burning house, and saves 4 kids in that fire. 4, like, can you fucking believe that? He was delivering fucking pizza and saw this house on fire. He got out of the car and ran into the house. This was before the firefighters showed up, and there's a video. Firefighters show up, like, oh, there's the pizza guy's in the house, and they're like, what? What do you mean the pizza guy's in the house? He came out and he got the 3 kids that he had, and then one of them said that their 6-year-old sister was still in the house. So not only did he go in and save those 3 kids, he dropped those 3 kids off and then turned around and went back inside. He goes back inside, he goes upstairs, and the whole fucking house is engulfed in flames. And he heard something downstairs, goes down. Well, no, did he go downstairs or upstairs? He must have been downstairs and then went upstairs because he heard something. He broke a window and they jumped out the second floor window. Unfucking believable. Like, that is a top 10 human. That's fucking crazy to me. You like to think that you would do something, right? That you would do something like that. You would like to think that, don't you? Because I certainly would like to think that I would do that. But I could tell you, in all actuality, I probably wouldn't fucking do that. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. But this fucking kid, bumfuck Indiana, delivering pizzas, goes into a burning house and saves fucking 4 kids. And he got like a gash on his arms and smoke inhalation. And then rightfully so, somebody created a GoFundMe page, and apparently it raised like $300,000. Good for him. He deserves every fucking dime. Then he should go into that pizza joint and tell him to fuck off. And look, you don't know the backstory with this kid at all. You don't know what the deal is. But in that split second, he made a decision that changed the course of life for 4 people. Fucking unbelievable. It's crazy as hell. And that's it. That's it for the complaints and observations top 10 humans. If you have a top 10 human that was not mentioned, feel free to share, because there's a lot of people that were suggested that I didn't include, but I'd love more. And here's the thing, okay? We're not including like Jesus Christ. We're not including Muhammad. We're not including any other supposed deity. We're not. No, I'm talking like. And look, people will say, "Well, they were actual people." Yeah, okay, whatever, sure. I don't disagree that they did live, but they were mentally ill. Oh, that's a terrible thing to say, huh? But we're not including them. So, I need verifiable, proof that these people existed and did what they, have been said to have done. So, like Aristotle is on the list, right? I don't know if I can include Aristotle because it's a little old, right? Leonardo da Vinci, his stuff is just not entirely verified. He was more of a painter, and then he put a bunch of stuff into notebooks, which the stuff in the notebooks was fucking fascinating. But he didn't actually do any of those things. He just kind of wrote them down. So, I mean, you could say that about a lot of people, just kind of wrote stuff down. I don't know. Nikola Tesla was somebody that I thought of adding in, but then his name has been sullied so. Elon Musk is a fucking creepy looking dude. Did you see that guy with no fucking shirt on? Oh my God. Somebody posted on Twitter like a see-through photo or drawing, I should say, of Elon Musk, and it was basically like like a little alien inside of Elon Musk. It's tough to explain, but it was funny. All right, I got to get out of here. Okay, yeah. Okay. As it is Wednesday, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show, the end, and three gripes. Three gripes. Gripe number one, fitted sheets. Here are my issues. First, there's no point in folding a fitted sheet. Second, it's damn near impossible to do so that it's flat. Third, it's eventually covered up by top sheets or blankets or comforters or whatever. So why do I need to care about a wrinkled fitted sheet? You don't need to. It's you roll it up, you smush it down, and you put it in a drawer or you put it wherever you put your sheets, a linen closet, whatever. There is zero reason to fold a fitted sheet. Get the fuck out of here with that. Gripe number two, shopping carts. I am continually amazed at the lack of care that almost all retailers take for their shopping carts. And you know what I'm talking. Every time you go to the grocery store or to Target, or God forbid you get a shopping cart at like an Ocean State job lot, forget it. You're better off wheeling around a fucking cardboard box. But I just wonder. I wonder how much money and probably time they might save by just spending a modicum of time maintaining these things, and then not to mention the number they get thrown out. I would love to know what the average number of shopping carts per year that a single grocery store throws out. And look, and I'm in some cases I'm sure they can be recycled, but just imagine the fucking pain in the balls. An entire shopping experience can be ruined by a janky wheel or an entire ball of yarn wrapped up in one of them, or a wheel that's locked up from some mystery substance. You're paying someone minimum wage to wrangle these things all day anyway. Why not add like 50 cents to that and have them spend an hour a day maintaining these things so they don't fucking suck? Like, put up a sign that says, "Hey, is your shopping cart wonky? Put it here." And then the person who's in charge of shopping cart maintenance goes over, flips it up, and then removes all the fucking shit that's in a shopping cart wheel so that it's functional. The worst is when you're pushing it down the aisle and it locks up and it just like skids. Like, I fucking hate that. Then you gotta like back it up and then it happens like every 10 minutes. It drives me bonkers. You know what else drives me bonkers? Gripe number 3, recruiters. Right off the top, I need to make this known, okay? Not all recruiters are soulless ghouls with zero concept of the working world or how to actually read a resume. It just happens to seem that most of them are. Not all, just most. 75% of them are useless. 25% of them are so far and away better than the other 75% that it makes the other 75% look completely fucking worthless. And I'm sticking with that percentage. I've had far too much contact with the 75% over the past few months. And I've come to the realization that for most of them, it's a game, right? To get quote interviews end quote lined up or phone calls scheduled. And it's not really to fill the job, okay? It's like it's not shooting fish in a barrel, which it really should be, especially at this point when, the job market is relatively chock full of jobs. It's a seller's market. In other words, companies can stand being picky at the moment because there are so many people either looking to move. There are not so many people unemployed. Unemployment's very low, but it's the actual moving around of currently employed people looking to move. Um, and so it's not so much about filling the job. It's about how many people can you talk to in the course of a day. It's a very sales mentality. It's a very cold call-y type of thing where it's you need to make X number of calls per day. So you got a call quota, you have an interview quota, you have a connection quota, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm guessing most of these low-level recruiters, that's how they function. It's a volume thing. It's quantity over quality. I know some who don't get paid unless an offer is extended or accepted. But it just seems that the ones that I constantly deal with trolling on LinkedIn or on Indeed aren't those people. Case in point, I had a call scheduled for noon on Monday, this past Monday. Noon, so 12 noon. Phone rang at 12:10. So you're already a fuck up. Right out the gate, you've already fucked up. That's not even my biggest gripe, but still, look, get your shit together, okay? If you're going to be a fucking troll, if you're going to try to do something, at least do it somewhat right. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired. That's usually how it should go. Anyways, so I got back-to-back messages on LinkedIn from 2 different people from the same exact company, 5 minutes apart, looking to fill a role that they both called account manager. Now, my expertise, my professional background is in managing accounts, more or less, which is fucking depressing in and of itself. But both of these people saw something in my LinkedIn profile that said to them, all right, I'm going to reach out to this guy. They both mentioned my past employer, Wayfair, in the message. But it was for account managers, what they said, account manager. Now, in my head, account manager means sales or something in that sort of realm, right? Yeah, thank you. Okay. The rest of the ad made it seem as if the company was a wholesaler, as she said that they quote have a strong presence on Wayfair end quote. So that tells me that this company has product that they sell on Wayfair. Perfect. Great. My last company, not similar, but a wholesaler of a different ilk, but still. So based on that, I at least thought that I had, enough of a background to necessitate a discussion of some kind. Okay, fine, whatever. I went with the one who reached out to me first, just because she was first. That's all. And we set it up for Monday at noon. Turned into Monday at 12:10. So as we're talking, and I'm going over my background for about 15 minutes. She's asking me, a handful of questions, but nothing too in depth. It's just me regurgitating my resume. I've learned that you can kind of figure out these things and how they're going to go very early on, and that if you just have your resume up and you're just reading from your resume, you kind of get the result that you think you're going to get. Unfortunately, in this particular instance, I didn't have my resume up, because I know it. Yeah. So about probably another 10, 15 minutes go by, and she says, we're looking for someone more technical to handle the pricing, posting, and management of the Wayfair platform. Do you have experience doing that? My reply was, do you see that on my resume? Dead serious. Dead serious question. She said, no, I don't. And so I said, no, I don't have experience doing that, so I don't think I'm going to be a good fit for this role. So, instead of giving me a little detail to save both of us some time right from the jump, she proceeded to make the initial message as vague as possible, simply to get me on the phone and to make that phone call last 15 minutes or so. But, I essentially wasted 30 minutes because she was 10 minutes late for a role that I had no earthly chance of securing. And I talked to a person who doesn't seem to be able to read. It's like, what the actual fuck? What am I supposed to do with this? You owe me 30 minutes. How do you get that back? All of this fucking sucks, and I hate it. Absolutely fucking hate it. And it's driving me absolutely fucking bonkers. Anyways, that's it for the show. Thanks for coming. I do appreciate it. Hope you got through all of it. I'm guessing you didn't, but that's okay. If you did, thanks. If not, well, it is what it is. You managed to come back and hear the end of the show for some weird fucking reason, but that's just kind of who you are, I'm guessing. Weird. You can go to my Instagram page at ComplainsPod. Go to my Twitter page at ComplainsPod. I do have a Facebook page, but fuck Facebook. I have a YouTube page that I've done nothing with. I have a Twitch channel that I can't figure out. I have a TikTok page that I made a TikTok a couple weeks ago. I got 400 views. Yep. Huge numbers. 617-657-4736. Call in with a complaint and or an observation. I'd love to hear from you. If you have a top 10 human that you want to nominate, don't hesitate to share that with me via any sort of medium that you may have. You can call in, you can email me, you can text me, you can tweet me, you can DM me, whatever you fucking feel like doing, you can do it. Have at it. If you want to be on the show, if you know somebody who wants to be on the show, let me know. Love interviews. Yeah, you can go to the merch store, bonfire.com. Look up complaints and observations. And you should find the new shirt that I have up. I also have a couple of Roddy Piper ripoff t-shirts that I felt like making one day. So you can check those out too. And that's it for the show. So thank you as always. I do appreciate it. I ask as always to please tell your friends. If you know anybody who enjoys boring content, please tell them to listen to Complaints and Observations. And that'll do. So please take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Godspeed. Ta-ta.